Hello, guys. Welcome to the Two Tone Rundown. This is your host, Titan Fan B. I'm here with a special guest. I am here with Jackson from Two Tone I'm sorry, from Titan Report on YouTube.
Yes,
I
sir. Great to be here, man. Appreciate you having me on today.
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. And man, I just want to catch up with the fans, man, and do a little video together, man. You're actually my very first guest on Two Tone Rundown. Just to give you a host, this guy's been everywhere, man. You probably seen some of his updates on X if you're a Titan fan like me or always searching for something, especially with being that he's always at the events and everything like that. So I appreciate your grind, man. I'm seeing you out there doing everything, brother, and I appreciate it, man.
Man, it's an honor. It's an honor to do stuff for Titans fans. I appreciate you, appreciate the community. The community is a blessing. And, someone who is not from the state of Tennessee to be able to join the community and shout out to all the fans who've been welcoming. And it's a great community and fan base. And I'm honored to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. So I'm gonna get into the interview with you, man, because I'm not from Tennessee either. I grew up a Houston Oilers fan, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Uh, Followed the team to Tennessee, so I'm not a native Tennessean, but I can be for the for the fan, I guess. And so I appreciate that, man. But I want to know your story a little bit of how did you become a Titans fan, man?
So it's funny enough, no one in my family is a Titans fan. My dad's still a Rams fan, my brother's a Bears fan, my mom doesn't, really care too much about football. But really for me is when my dad had an idea like 4 or 5 years ago to be able to move to Tennessee, we are kind of going back and forth. And I was like, if I move, I want to be able to like a sports team. I've been a sports fan since I've been little. I've always grown up with baseball. And, I loved football since I was a kid. I grew up watching Peyton Manning in the Broncos and that Super Bowl game. I can remember it to this day against the Panthers and remember watching that. I remember watching Brady as a kid. So just all those memories, watching all those legends. And then, going out to Nashville, handful of games. My first game I got to go to. And it's tough following a team so far away, especially out of state. And my dad's like, I'm taking you to your first game. We're going to this. And I just felt the energy. When I was first there is 2021. And I remember to this day. And ever since then, I was like, I love this team. And, I'm a huge fan of them. Um, I love this team. And, it kind of, I grew myself more as a fan over the years and years and years. And we moved out to Tennessee. We got to many more games. And Derrick Henry got me also into there, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel. So I think just all that above and just moving to the state of Nationals, like I need to get into a sports team. And I've been a Titans fan for 5, 6 years now. It's been incredible. So, there's been some lows, but I'm really hopeful this is gonna be a really good year. And it was emotional, for me last year because I haven't seen a home game win since 2021. And last year against the Chiefs, I saw my first home win, and it got a little emotional since 2021, since we moved to the state of Tennessee. So again, like I mentioned in the intro, the community, the fan base, it's been all special, and everyone's been great. Everyone's been welcoming, since moving here again. It's been a blessing, and being a fan, I love them, and I would always defend the two tone blue always and forever. And I'm like, this is my team. I remember it in 2020 telling me that's my team, and always would ride with the Titans.
So you sticking beside it, man. That's what I'm talking about. The crazy thing about it is that I well, for me, I was a fan with the Oilers, and a lot of times, a lot of people kind of go back and forth. Like, I grew up in Houston. That was the team then, and then even when they were losing, I was kind of sad because when they were moving, I was kind of sad. I was like, oh man, they're moving to Nashville. But as they were moving, the team was getting better and better. So it
Mhm.
kind of made it the transition for me a little bit better. Like, oh, they're winning. They're still winning. They're doing their thing. They're picking it back up. And then we
Mhm.
made the Super Bowl, and I was like, yep, I need to stay home. This is my home for me. And so I still rep the Two Tone Blue. I mean, when I was coming up, Vince Young was my guy. I'm a Texas fan, of course, from Texas. So Texas Longhorns are my team. It just made it even sweeter when Vince Young came.
Mhm.
So for me, that was my little range. So uh and Vince will always still be my guy. So but even my favorite Titans memory was when like he came back and that overtime was an overtime win and he ran it in for the end zone to the touchdown in Houston. and I was like, "Wow, that right there was, like, defining, like, yeah, this is the energy of the team." If you ever look up that game, it was an awesome game. It was down to the wire, I think it was overtime, and Vince Young took off to his right and ran it all the way down, I think, like, 30 yards for a touchdown. It was a in Houston, so it was a great kinda win thing there going on. So that was awesome thing for me. Um, so that's one of my fanhood, and I've been repping it since then. Whether we win or lose, I'm always
Mhm.
on blue. Uh,
Agree.
so that's what I am with me. Uh, get a little bit, man, Tim. I want to ask you something too. I know you did an interview with Michael Griffin, so you may be a little
Mhm.
biased with this, but what is your all-time favorite Titan and why?
That's tough because I know you put Michael Griffin on there, put me on the spot. On I and Mike's great. Don't I love Mike. He's a great player. Honestly, and I'm gonna do this for me, like watching, because when I go back on tape, you can say Eddie, you can say Steve, you can say Mike, you can say Delaney. I mean, obviously all those guys. It's probably Derrick Henry, and I know it's such a classic one. He's probably up there, but I played safety in middle school, in high school, and all this stuff. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Byard, and I will always be a Kevin Byard defender to this day. Now, I know he's not retired yet. What's up?
I said KB's the guy.
KB's the guy, bro. So it's between those two guys. Those guys really got me into, liking the Titans. I really like both of those games. And, I remember watching Derrick Henry break through for a lot of long runs in 2020 on my living room. I'm like, this guy is a freaking freight train. So I think watching him, watching KB also, I think was another one. But yeah, I mean, obviously, all time, Steve, obviously McNair. I got to watch a lot of him this offseason. I'm still watching it. I'm still going through some big highlights of Steve McNair's play.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've been doing this offseason to kind of cope with no football. And besides watching some tape, is to watch a lot of these older games and sit down for multiple hours watching. I just got done watching the Jags game. I just got done watching the Ravens game in the wild card. So watching a couple of those, and him and Eddie are probably my top two favorites. You can't forget about CJ2K either. That's the guy that was really explosive. Love that guy. He is incredible. I mean, just the way that he's so small and the way that he moves is a good one up there also. But yeah, I mean, I'm a nerd, man. I'm a nerd in football. I mean, I bet running back and safety are my two favorite positions, man. Those are my two favorite positions I love to watch.
Okay, that makes sense because like when you came into your fandom, Byard and Henry were there. They were top guys.
Mhm.
So that,
Mhm.
that kind of makes a lot of sense. Like for me, uh VY is my guy. Uh only because the simple fact that I remember the one particular season, I think the Titans were like one and like or even if we won one game, it was like 0-7. And like we were having a terrible season. It was Jeff Fisher was there. They were like, "Oh, we might they get rid of Jeff," everything like that. And I think Kerry Collins gets hurt, and they slide Vince in because this is when they at their bench Vince. Vince Young gets in there. I think he pulls off like 6 or 7 straight wins for the season. Like we kept winning. Like we and he brought us back to like 8-8, I believe. And we almost had a chance to make playoffs. That was one of the best seasons. Like it started off really rough, and then at the end, it just picked up, and we were like, "Wow, man, we might have a chance to make playoffs." Like that last game, and I think we lost like one of the last game or the one before that, but it was a close race, and he just made the season a little bit more exciting. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why I think that was one of my saying that was one of the best, and that's why he's my guy. I mean, I love our legends. I love, of course, Moon, Stay
Mhm.
Go Run with Steve and CJ2K. I mean, 2,000 yards. What else can you say? 2,500 yards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's also people that like Javon Curse.
Mhm.
Guys like that. Uh,
Curse and Hainsworth are very popular. Bullock's very popular.
yeah. Vanden Bosch. Vanden Bosch is yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of people out there, like, those are my guys that I used to watch and I'd be like, man, if we could just get them all together,
Mhm.
but that,
Exactly.
that was my guys then, man. So that's what puts me in there. But man, I just want to touch a little bit on your fandom, a little bit, just a little bit about what, a little bit about you so that, can see that, we do have Titan fans out here, even though
We
country
do.
They don't believe we have them out here. We do have them here. Um, so I want to talk about what's going on currently with the team. What is your
Mhm.
confidence level of the Titans this season coming up? Like, what do you feel?
I feel great. I mean, obviously we're in training camp, we're in the process where pads are on and joint practice is here and a lot of good stuff. And this is where you find the answers. You can find a lot of answers about your team right here. Especially when you go against another defense, when you're in those late dog days of summer in June and in July, or you kind of get a feel of one-on-ones between your number one offense and defense together. How does that translate right to other teams? So I feel pretty good. The Titans offseason, the Titans front office have done a really good job, especially from top down to the coaching staff. They hired, they have 4 guys on that staff who have really good experience. You have great weapons around. I think you surrounded Cam Ward with great weapons heading into year 2. And, last year now having Alec Iamander and Chim DK, not saying they're bad, but now saying that those guys were your 2 top receivers. Now they're your depth pieces. I think they've done a really good job. I think they drafted pretty well. They got Cardinal Tate, Anthony Hill, Keldrick Falk. I think you got some development guys. And, just top down, you have a lot of talent in this organization. And now it's like you got to go perform on the field. And I think to me, man, I mean, when you look at this team, everybody's saying, this could be what 11, 12 win team. I'm just be happy if there's 7 to 9 wins. I mean, I think that'll be drastically improvement. Robert Sala, we know he can bring to this defense, and they're changing schemes up, and they're changing from a 3-4 to 4-3. Now it's going to be attack defense. And that's what Jeffrey Simmons fits. So they got a lot of studs around him. Now, can they do it on the field? I feel pretty confident right now. We're in the middle of August, so there's still some time left, to see, hey, where does this thing go? I think the season, I think will start off hot. I think against the Jets, Eagles, and Giants, I think they'll get a couple wins here and there in the stretch. But you know what? Honestly, if we can get 7 to 9 wins this season, that is a home run in my opinion. I've been saying that for a while. So confidence, there's high confidence right now, but I just want to see how it performs on the field.
You have the same sentiments as me with the season. I think I had to put my hat on too, man, because
Yes, sir.
got me jealous a little bit over there, man.
Yes, sir.
But uh, I'm very optimistic. This is my word, optimistic about everything because as Titans fans, we kind of like lean to the point where we don't understand. We don't we're kind of iffy on things until we see it on the field, until we actually see it because we've been there, done that, you know, with a lot of things, on paper we always look good and until we hit the field. So that's a big important
Right,
piece for us,
exactly.
important
Yeah.
step for us. So right now I'm kind of in the same boat when I'm just trying to see, hey, what's going on? Do I have a supreme
Hmm.
in that we're getting it right and we're on the right path? Yes. Uh,
Hmm.
the pieces have to be there. The pieces have to perform, and you have to go out there because where it really matters is on Sunday, and it does matter right now, but re- it means more, twice as more on Sunday, if that makes sense.
I
So
agree.
as of right now, a lot of the pieces, I'm liking a lot of pieces. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Alec Manor. I'm liking what I'm seeing
Mhm.
from him. I'm liking what I'm seeing from I actually like what I'm seeing from Alante. I'm like I love Hook, but I gotta see more,
Yeah.
to really put in that. So that's where I'm at right now. Anthony Hill Jr. is looking amazing to me. I think those saxophones are playing
Mhm.
Cody a little bit.
Yeah, he's playing good. I know he's your Texas boy, so I know you might have a little bias to that too.
Oh yeah, you know it. He was one of those ones I was excited for. So, and I'm actually excited to see Keldrick and Femi
Mhm.
and how they're gonna jump into this D line because
Right.
this D line is looking ferocious. And I really want to see because Femi looked really good and Keldrick is holding his own. He's just trying to figure it out. So I give him that. But
Mhm.
right now, I'm trying to figure it out with everybody, and it's just looking good right now for me from a standpoint. But how do you feel about Cam, man? Cam Ward?
I like what I've seen, man. I think his best day was on Friday. I think he added it up on Sunday. I think the connections, the biggest thing this offseason, the new system with Brian Dable, right? How is he gonna fit into that system? I think he's done a really good job in transitioning into Brian's offense. I think he's done a really good job in that perspective. I think he's working well with his weapons. I think he's worked well with Carnell Tate. I think he's worked well with Wanda Robinson. I think him and Ridley's had some moments, right? So I think just him working around with his weapons, I think he's a really good learner. I think he's definitely matured. I think he's a guy that, is definitely a leader on the field. And, I think I look at yesterday's practice. I know everybody was just kind of saying this and back and forth. He looked, everything I've read, he looked fine. I think he had a fine practice. I know there's some little tweaks he has to get down. I think with his time, I think his timing's definitely improved, man. I think that's one of the things this offseason is decision making. I'll tell you kind of a play that I saw. I think this was like a week and a half ago. I think it was the first practice. You had Carnell Tate down the field. You had him. It
Mhm.
was it was kind of like a 50-50 ball. But Cam Ward took the check down because he wanted to get more yards. And I think he's really developed in a way that he is liking, he takes what the defense is giving him. And I think that's the thing that we saw last year. I think he looks more comfortable as a quarterback heading now, which is no surprise. You get more comfortable into year number two. And I like what I've seen. And look, you're gonna see. Look, bro, I want to put this out there. You're gonna see an interception time to two. It's fine. You're learning. I think he is just he's connecting with Wandell. I know the interception yesterday was underthrown, but I know he's working on a lot of that stuff. So we're gonna see him a handful tomorrow in the preseason game on Thursday. So I'm excited to see for him just in real live action. But everything we've seen off the field and on the practice field, I'm encouraged by Cam Ward. I'm excited to see what he brings this year.
Yeah, I mean, with what you saying that, I mean, I'm looking at the whole situation. Like, I like how meticulous he is this offseason.
Hmm.
He's very meticulous, uh, very thoughtful on what he's doing in this whole
Hmm.
process. So to me, it's more of like a just being there, trying to get him acclimated because you can see the
Hmm.
fast pace and the fast pace, the urgency that he's playing with, throwing out the pocket, holding on to the ball as long as
Right.
to, So you see the improvements and stuff like that. And I had no doubt in my mind when we drafted this kid, the work ethic is still there. He
Mm.
has the drive. He wants to be the best. I see it. I see the work. We all see it, and it especially just confirmed it to us now that he did a Netflix special. It just confirmed it to the world what we already kind of Titans fans already knew. With that being said, watching that quarterback special, it raised a question for me. In a particular scene when I was watching him talk to Callahan last year, where he was, showing him all these different uh quarterbacks. Look what Stafford did, look what Peyton did, Manning did, and look what
Mhm.
all these guys did in this situation. Um, in your opinion, and this is not to get on anybody, or down anybody and talk about in a bad light, put anybody in a bad light. Um,
Mhm.
I would say like now when you see that Dable comes in and asks him, "What do you want to run? What do you want to do in the offense?" Do you think that was kind of an issue last year with the disconnect with the team with Callahan with Cam Ward and Dable with Cam Ward?
I think it's kind of hard to say. I mean, the thing with Brian Dable is that I just think that he's just trusting his quarterback. I know Brian Callahan has some moments here and there. He's kind of back and forth, but I just honestly, this is kind of what I saw last year. There's a different energy and there's a different vibe to this coaching staff with Cam Ward and him trusting him. Obviously last year the thing with Cam is he went through a whole different coaching staff last year. He was thrown off by week 6, and I think for him to rebound and I trust that. I think Brian Dable's just letting him loose. I think he's like, hey, I'm gonna let you take the calls and we're going to work on some things and adjust. And Brian Dable said in the press conference, yeah, me and Cam don't always agree, right? They're going to have disagreements. They're going to work things out. It's kind of hard to say, but I think in a point I think you make that argument, yes, for Brian Callahan. I think last year I think he was a little bit stubborn to Cam. I think he should have let him be a little more, trust him just a little more. But that's the thing I've been really impressed with Brian Dable, just giving them the playbook and be like, hey man, go for it. So I think the communication that's also been really strong with this whole coaching staff. I think between Dable and Cam and the Shea Tooney also they brought in from New York is a really good guy in that room as well. So I think there's just a lot brand new coaching staff. I just feel more comfortable with this year. I know Cam Ward, and he said it too. Cam Ward's like, he loves Brian Dable. Him and Brian connected. He said that a lot during his pressers, and I think that's just a really encouraging sign from Cam.
Oh yeah. So that's what one of my things because like and the only reason I say that is because I felt like just watching that lets me and this is nothing towards Cali. I felt like Callahan was really trying to force
Mhm.
his way, like the way he wanted it ran, he tried to force that into Cam Ward instead of molding it around Cam Ward.
Right.
And that was my thought of looking at it like, that was probably a bad decision on his part. Not saying that because I still believe he's a good coach. Not to say that he's not, he just it was hard to figure out that lane for him. Sometimes people get into lanes and they don't know how to navigate like they used to. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
And to me, that's just what I look at it as, because I still think he can develop. Can I think he can develop a quarterback? Yes, I think so. But
Mhm.
I think it taught him a valuable lesson,
Right.
that hey, maybe you need to mold your way around the player and not try to mold the player to you, you know?
And that's also why,
That's in certain
Josh Allen.
situations.
Go ahead,
That's in
man.
certain situations, you know?
Yeah, the thing is that when the Buffalo, when they drafted Josh Allen, that Brian Dable was there when Buffalo drafted Josh Allen his rookie year, and then when Brian Day went to the New York Giants, and I think he helped Josh Allen take his next step because everyone thought Josh Allen was this and this, and he wasn't going to be a good player, but Brian Dable let him be free. He was working with him. I think and I'm not saying Brian Callahan wasn't, but when Brian Callahan got to Cincinnati, when they drafted Joe Burrow, he did help. To be fair, he helped develop Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow had a lot of those skills already when he came over to the NFL. The thing is that Cam Ward, he's still learning a lot of those skills. And I think last year and it's no shame to the coaching staff. The coaching staff last year was just not the fit for the quarterback. And to be fair, that's what happens a lot in the NFL. Some of these coaching staffs are not fit for X, Y, and Z. And then that's why some of these guys get traded here and there. And that's why some guys get new fits. So I think Brian Callahan wasn't a fit for Cam. And you can make an argument he wasn't really a fit for Levis either. So I think now with Cam Ward and Brian Dable, you've seen a lot more improvements. And that's why I think Cam Ward's had a really good offseason. Also, it's just to let him play free. And, I'm very impressed with Brian Dable's really brought to this offensive coordinator. I mean, obviously he's a staff, and it won't shock me if he gets a head coaching job next year, man. It won't really shock me at all because this guy is really talented. Now he's taking a year. He's stepping back. Now he's taking a year. He's like, how can I help Cam be better? And you know what? I would love to see Dable here next. I'm not even thinking about next year, but I'm just saying I think I just want to see what he can do from the first week out. And you know, I think they said this too. Third down's really critical for a quarterback. I know that's what Saul and Dable both said. Yeah, and the third down's really critical. Last year, the Titans struggled on third down. I think they've really struggled at keeping those plays going. So I want to see that too. And I know Thursday, excuse me, is gonna kind of be tough because you're seeing the 49ers second team and you're not really seeing, the whole starters. But I think just getting a nice idea in live action about Cam Ward, I think is something that I'm excited to look.
Yeah, that was a big step for me because,
Hmm.
I think watching them grow, it's like we're watching them grow and learn because that's a tough team over there. I mean, that's a playoff team you're playing
Hmm.
against. So I expected them to struggle, but I'd rather them struggle now to know what it feels like, you know?
Hmm.
And I tell people that all the time, when you want to practice, if you ever play football, practice is where you work on everything. You don't do it in the game, you work on it and practice. You get better at practice because you know what's going on. So when I look at the situation with Dable, he's trying things, seeing what they can do. Cam is trying things, trying to see what he can get away with. What he can do, what he can't get away with. Stuff like that. So you're not testing him if you're not struggling.
Hmm.
That's just my view of it. Now, am I expecting some great plays? Yes. Am I expecting some bad plays? Yes. I'm kind of like even kill, kind of like how Cam says when he's in the interviews, like I'm even kill with it. So I want to see just improvements on this and this. And I mean, I've been blown away by the improvements so far, of training camp. But I got another question for you. What who do you think is getting overlooked by the fans on the team during this training camp process?
Overlooked.
Yes.
That's a tough call. I think right now, is it kind of, I gotta think about that, man, because this is kind of just the thing when you have pads and you have, OTAs on. It's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of a tough time when you look at overlook. I'm gonna say this. This might be, a little bit hot take, maybe something like that. What about Calvin Ridley so far? Yeah, I think I'm gonna put him out there just a little bit. You know, I'm kind of looking at him at the wide receiver spot because he in the last 2 weeks of training camp, excuse me, Iron Man has really been impressive, right?
Yeah.
So now the question is, I still expect Calvin to be the starter today. I mean, as of currently we're still talking about this, but Iomander is really knocking on the door and he's like, I'm fighting for that spot. And it won't be really surprising if they do knock him down. I don't expect them to knock it down, however, but what I do expect though is that he's gonna put up a very high competition for that spot. It's kind of a little bit of a tough call, but Calvin really is one of those guys I think, personally on this roster. I think another piece like on I think overlook on the roster, man. I mean, you can look on the defensive side of the ball. I'm kind of looking at the defensive line. I'm kind of seeing where these guys are. I think you can basically saying, what about James Williams? I think he's a guy that people are not talking about at all. And the reason for that is because, last year when you're coming into Robert Sala's defense this year, you have Cedric Gray who's taking a leap. You have Cody Barton who's still the number two. So when you're looking at that perspective, James Williams is fighting for a spot and Anthony Hill too. So, I mean, I think he's a guy that is playing well, but people are not giving enough recognition. So I think James Williams, just to see him, he's been flashing. I think he's had like 3 picks in the last week and a half. Um, I think he needs more attention. I think one more guy quietly is Xavier Restrepo. And the reason why I put out a video yesterday, he's fighting for the six wide receiver spot. And when you're looking at this at the end of the day, when you are coming down to August 25th, I believe is the last time we'll have, 453 man roster, that is where things are going to kind of get interesting because how many guys, first of all, how many guys? Are they can keep six or they can keep seven guys on the roster? I think it'll be seven. Well, I think it'll be six right now. If they do keep seven, that's where Restrepo is. But he's been a guy who's really stepped up this offseason. I think he's getting more poised as a wide receiver. I think he looks more comfortable, especially running routes. I think he's getting comfortable with Cam Ward. So I think those are my answers right there. Just, guys who need a little more love, I think, especially on this team right now.
Those are great choices, man, because you actually two of them are actually my choices. I was thinking the same thing with Keldrick I'm sorry, with Xavier Restrepo and James Williams. But my other ones was Keldrick Folk because the simple fact that Tate is
See
getting a lot
that?
of shine, they forget about he's a first round pick too, you know? So to me, he's the one, he's setting the tone up and he's actually getting into his groove. And I can see the potential that the coaches see in him, you know?
Mhm.
Um, he's showing a flash in the pan kind of thing like that. But I agree with the James Williams. James Williams has been balling, man. I mean,
Mhm.
every time you see a report about training camp or something, he got a big hit. He's got a pick. He's putting up the think about it. He's been up the stats. You know, production. Same thing with Restrepo. I think last was not talked about was didn't he have like 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, 2
Restrepo
yesterday. Yeah, he had 2
had
yesterday. Yeah.
3 touchdowns? Yeah, so with Restrepo, I've always been a believer in him because I didn't believe in that 40 time. I'm like, this guy is the all-time leading receiving yards at Miami. You know who else is on that list? You know,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
easy. That's not easy to do. So to me,
No.
I know he has a talent. If he can get on that list, I know he has a talent. The problem is just get him in the thing because if you actually look low key, go watch that game last year that he played in, he was getting open.
Mhm.
It was to the point where I'm thinking to myself, I think we should have put him in a little bit earlier than that, you know? Why did we wait so long to get him in the game, you know?
Mhm.
And or work him into the game plan because he was catching everything. I mean, he was 1 yard away from a touchdown really if they didn't pull him if 3 guys didn't pull him out the end zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was like he was that close to the end zone. So to me, I think he is a key factor. I think he can make this team, you know? Imagine, uh, doing dual slots, him and Wandale. Who do you guard, you know?
Yeah.
When Gunningham takes a break, you know? Who do you guard, you know? So that's what I can see from that, but I think Restrepo is definitely slept on.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think he gets enough shine because they have so much in the receiver room, you know? Same thing for James Williams. We have so much in the linebacker core, you know, that we have a whole balanced breakfast over here, but we're eating cereal, you know?
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So, you know, I think it's like, you know, James Williams, if he keeps balling out, Salah gonna have a hard choice to make, you know, a very hard choice
Mhm.
to make, and that's the I'm scared of, man. That's the one thing I'm scared of, but I get your point to what you're picking, and Calvin Ridley is definitely one of those pieces too because he's still the vet in the room, you know,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
he's
the
still here.
young shine, but, you know, the vet is still there. The vet is still solid, and I
Mhm.
believe if Calvin really can still produce, because it's all about for us Titans fans right now, it's all about production, really, to be honest with you. Right now, we just wanna see production. Like, come out and ball out, you know? Hey, get a tackle, get 5 tackles, get some you know? Get a catch,
Mhm.
get 50 yards, you know? A production a production thing, and I think that's what we're failing at. That's what we're thirsty for, you know? Just to get a production because 'cause we're tired of these 3 and outs, you know?
Make
Uh,
plays on first down, man. We need to hear more of the shoots instead of the,
the money
boos on
guy,
third down.
the money,
Exactly.
make the money. Okay, man. So we getting there to the midway point. Just a few minutes because I'm not gonna take much time because I know you got some stuff to do, man. You're down there, vacation. What position group worries you the most?
Offensive line, man. I mean, it's a common answer. I'm gonna say this. We I'm more concerned about the backup of the offensive line, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why in just a second. I'm kind of worried about the depth. And when you're looking at the five guys, I think Dan Moore, I think will settle in. I think, we've heard some things with him being injured. I think this is Dan Moore's year to shine. I think, he's a guy that, has been an above average tackle. He's not gonna be like a flashy star. I think, Dan Moore, I think he will have a better year. He had a better second half, and I think he's carrying that momentum into 2026. So if he can do what he can did better in the second half, he got more comfortable. So if he can do more of those plays that he did in the start of the season, I think Dan Moore would be fine. We know about Sharonsky, all pro guard. The interior, I think the thing is, the Titans, they could have gone a different route, but you got Austin Sloman, who knows very much of Brian Dable and Carmen Basilio's system. So I think starter until proven wrong. I think he's a starter today. And I've liked what I've seen from him so far. The interior, the right guard, still the question. Because here's the thing, we heard of the two guys between Cordell Bolson and Jackson Slater. We heard it was between back and forth between these guys. Carmona has gotten a lot of first team reps. And he got a lot
Yeah.
on Tuesday and he got a lot on Sundays. So the question is, you have three guys now in the mix. And the question is now, I'm putting a hot take out there. I think Carmona's got a chance to start. I think if you're talking about this a month from today, I think Carmona's got a really big shot because I think what he brings to the offensive line. Now, the question is where are they going to go at? I think, Bolson and Slater are still very much in the mix, but Carmona is a guy to keep in mind up for the starting job. And Sala says, hey, these guys, third team's going to get first team. Well, third team does he get first team reps every single practice. So they see something in Carmona. I think that Carmen Basilio likes what he sees from Carmona. So where are they going to go from there? But JC Latham's the biggest story because when you look at JC Latham this year in year number 3, this is a kind of a prove it year for Latham. Now, obviously, Latham, he's missed some time. I think he's still getting back in there. He's on a snap count currently right now. And I'm not sure how many snaps he's going back and forth, but Latham's a guy to keep in mind of because you know if he wants a contract extension, this is his year. If he wants to solidify himself as a starting right tackle for the future, this is kind of JC Latham's year. Now, this is the point, my man. This is where I'm a little concerned. If one of those tackles goes down, I don't know about the backup offensive tackle depth because I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like Austin Deculus because he's a guy, who was one of the worst offensive tackles last year. So where's he gonna look at, right? He got ejected yesterday. And Brandon Crenshaw Dixon was in there, he and UDFA last year. So you have those two guys at the backup, and you're wondering yourself, if one of these guys goes down, the Titans are in trouble. They haven't really invested in the backup depth. So I'm certain the offensive line, I think something that fans are concerned of, I want to kind of put a pause, is the cornerback depth. And what I've seen from the cornerbacks, I'm very excited with the depth of the defensive backs. They definitely have some room to grow. I think Micah Robinson's a guy I think is definitely taking the next step. I think Najee Johnson had a good day yesterday at practice. So I think there's some guys in that depth row, Joshua Williams as well, and Marcus Harris. So there's some good guys in that depth role. I think the question is now where they're going to fit on the depth chart. But I think my answer is the offensive line.
Oh yes, I totally agree with you. Only because I'm looking to the fact that you know, and here's my take on it. I think Slotman is going to be better than what people think because you've been hearing nothing but great things so far. You haven't really heard anything too bad about Slotman. But that right guard position is it's an unknown. It's just a super unknown. Uh, you're right about Carmona. They just put Slade Carmona, and I think that surprised a lot of people, especially when Jim Wyatt put out that depth chart. They're like, Carmona is second string. There's a chance, and when you're second string, it's a chance you can start. That automatically. So being that we were thinking Jackson Slater's fighting for it, but they put Jackson Slater on the other side behind Pete, and they just paid Pete, so he's not going. So with that being said, you're kind of looking like okay, well, who else is going to take that spot? And you know what? If Carmona steps up and Carmona's looking good, and they think that hey, that this guy can do it, why not? You know, why
Yeah,
not?
and the biggest thing is, man, is like, the offensive line, they're trying to figure out young pieces at right guard. Because remember, we've been shifting through right guards for the last couple seasons now. So I think
Oh my
they want to
goodness,
have a long-term answer at that position, right? And they brought in Volson for the veteran experience, right? They brought in him for to be a vet. I think he can do some good things, but really the young guys are making some noise, and obviously we still have a long ways to go. We still have a handful of weeks. Sala says we're not going to have a true answer. I'm going to say right guard because we really have an idea at center when we're going with Austin Sloman, like you mentioned. Yeah, and I'm going to be impressed. I think he'll be like I agree with that. I think he's going to be more impressive than people think, but I think the right guard position is very much in the air just because there's three guys and they're fighting for a spot. And obviously I think they want to go young and they want to see where they're going for the future. And we haven't had a solidified right guard last year, it was Kevin Zeitler, Jackson Slater learned behind him. They tried to get Keenan Rutledge in the draft. They actually wanted him. And, the question was, when Houston took him, that's when it pushed for Kendrick
oh,
Falk because they
shit.
want to try to get him. Yeah, they want to guy get Rutledge, and Rutledge is a guy that I think if you're looking at him on this team, he would have started right away. He probably would have been the starter today. But Cordell Volson, and the reason I'm going to bring him up is because he had an injury last year against Cincinnati, and he had the shoulder injury. And some people are going to think here and there, yeah, Volson's not going to start. Well, he very much is because I think he's the guy that is the veteran experience in the locker room. He had solid years in Cincinnati. He was not horrible, so give him the chance. And I think what you're gonna see over the next couple weeks is these guys are always gonna rotate. You know, I'm wondering on Thursday who's gonna get the first start out of the game. The biggest question is who's gonna get the first team. And It won't be surprising if it's Carmona or maybe Volson, but they're switching things out. They want to see where things are go. But I think they're talented with the offensive line. They're satisfied where the right guarded position has currently, and I don't think they'll bring anybody else in currently unless if something injury happens. Hopefully not, but we'll talk about that later if it does. But I think it's the three guys fighting for the spot, and it's all open for it's open for business is what they call it. So,
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. It's open for business because it's like, you know, it- that right guard spot. It's been scary for years for Titans fans.
mhm,
It's been that spot that just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And I saw them trying to go get Rutledge, but then at the same time, I was pretty satisfied with Carmona, not because where we drafted him to, it's a good shot. It's a good shot.
mhm,
It's a chance to take. I think that's where it's at. But if he works out, I mean, it's gonna make our GM look like a genius.
exactly,
That's the case. That's the key about it. And then also too, with JC, I look at JC and we see him play, and there's a lot of Titans fans, being the position that we took him. We come in the season, we look at him play, he makes a play, and sometimes we're just like, you know,
Bruh.
okay, play, bruh, bruh. And
Bruh.
then, we need JC to be like a bomb. We need to drop the bomb just like that. You know, that's what we need him to be. So at this point with JC, I need him to be Trench King. You know,
exactly,
I need
mhm.
I need him to be what you're displayed as. And I think that's what kind of rubs Titans fans the wrong way a little bit, is because God, when you came out, you were like, I'm Trench King, this is me. We look at the strength. That's what we saw.
Mhm.
And now, not saying that JC's not that, but I believe that he can still be that. I just think he needs
Agree.
to, hey, I I need you to get out there. I need you to be nasty.
Mhm.
I need you. This defensive line needs a little nastiness to it.
It
It
does.
needs that. Listen, you better eat your Wheaties because we get your rest, because the next day we want to put it on you. We're gonna come in. You're gonna have a long day
Yeah.
with me tomorrow. You know.
And,
It,
and you know that's why I'm also impressed with Brasillo because he's done a really good job with the group of guys. I've gotten to stand right in front of him. I've gotten to look at very closely the offensive line, and he's a very coach who's very fiery, energy, poised, and I'm very impressed with Brasillo. Latham's looked good too. I think when he got back on Saturday, obviously he was limited and here and there. And then I think over the week I've seen some progress from Latham. I think he's done some good things. He looks great. His footwork looks great. I think he's moving the right way. I think he's doing all the things that you need to see from JC. And, I'm interested to see again tomorrow how many snaps, how many reps they're going to do. And I'm going to put early prediction. I think the whole offense will be out there at least for 2 to 3 tomorrow. And then now you're heading into Seattle, which is more of a tougher opponent. And they got a heck of a defensive line. And, I think just to see JC and Dan and Pete and all these guys on the line that, not Pete, but Sloman and Volson, whoever it's going to be, Carmona, and just to see them step up and be like, okay, this is the 49ers depth chart. This is their backups. But you're still going to have to see what these guys bring to the line. So I think that offensive line is going to be interesting tomorrow.
oh, the one thing I agree. I agree totally with your statement. Because the one thing that I see from this coaching staff is accountability. Like everything that they do, it's always accountability. If you do not do this, accountability. Like when I saw them doing push-ups after the drill because it wasn't done
Hmm.
right, that to me was like, wow, this is totally different. This is not going to be like last year. It can't be, because the way that they hold these players accountable, everything that you do on the field, we see.
And I think also the other thing is you brought up the coaching staff too with the push-ups. When Jeffrey Simmons got in the scuffle with JC, and when Ella got in a scuffle with Marcus, you brought everybody together, and Salah's like, go to work. And that's what he's all about. He's all about go to work, stop messing around. And I'm not saying Brian Callahan was saying messing around. What I'm saying is that they left Jeff in there last year. And they're like, "Oh, Jeff, it is what it is." Jeff was on the side field doing his own reps and doing his work because that way he got his work in and he wanted to do what he can do. Yeah, and I think that's good to see from your guy. You don't want a guy and and when you go get injected, you're like, "Oh, I hit the showers, I'm done." No, you're gonna go work. So I was like, no, you're gonna go work. Like, and I didn't hear any report. It was kind of tough hearing reporting yesterday because everybody was just kind of 50-50. But I'm sure Dan Moore and Austin Deculus did reps on the side field or whatever that crazy 49ers field is. I mean, my goodness. I mean, that is absolutely
That's substation.
that's absolutely wild, man, that 49ers field.
When
But
you do
no,
that,
I think
have you seen the substation
I
Twitter?
have, I have, yeah.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy, but I think just, for Robert Saleh, just to see his perspective and just to see him being like, work, work, work. And that's great from the staff. I mean, I think that's what the staff needs is that you have all this leadership from top to bottom, man. It's like we talk about this, I hinted at earlier with this coaching staff, from four head coaches. Heck, I love the position coaches. I'm a fan of Carmen. I'm a fan of Aaron White Cotton. I mean, just to see him and he did something in front of kids, I think that traumatized them, and they probably told their moms and dads at the end of the day, and be like, "Is this real football?" And I mean, he kinda cussed in front of some kids. I mean, maybe he traumatized, but no, I think just again, just to see the energy, it's just like there's something different to the staff. And look, all my friends and everybody's calling me and they're like, "Jack, how do you feel about the Titans?" I'm like, I f I like the energy. It's better, and it makes me feel as a fan. It's just like, okay, good. Like there's some different energy in this room. I'm gonna tell people, before this, I know everybody out there on social media said 4 to 6 wins. I want to see improvement. And I think this coaching staff has brought a lot of juice. Don't look at the numbers on social media. Just see what they bring on the field and watch practice. And trust me, you will see that there's a different storyline to this team than there was last year. Different.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to me, I don't look at numbers when it comes to this because last year you can look at the numbers. Numbers don't mean thinking unless you what you see on the field. Because we can go by numbers last year, we can go by what's going on. It, that season is over with. In this NFL, it's proven NFL means not for long. So the Patriots may make the Super Bowl last year. They might not make it this year.
Right. Yeah.
It just depends on how it goes. So, we gotta take every year with a grain of salt. And like, every year is gonna be different. It's not gonna be the same.
Hmm.
Yeah, it gives us context clues to what's gonna happen next
Hmm.
year, kinda, but it
Right. Yeah.
doesn't define the next year to me. And that's the thing about it. Like a lot of people don't kinda put in their back pocket when they're doing this and looking at teams because especially on live TV sometimes, because it's sometimes it's
Exactly.
ridiculous. So that's why I say, at this time, I'm looking at the team as a total. It's a new
Hmm.
energy. There's no more kitty camp vibe. There's more
Nope.
like this is NFL vibe. This is
Yeah.
hey, we're not playing hide and go seek. We're playing hide and go hunt.
Hmm.
So it's a different type of vibe there in Nashville. I'm loving it. I'm digging it. I even like the receiving coach was Greg. What's his last
Greg
name?
Lewis, oh my gosh, he is gosh,
Yeah.
and, it's I told somebody this earlier. These guys, like, these guys lose their voices all the time in practice because all these guys are yelling. I mean, you can hear I've heard Brian Dable, like, I'm, like, probably on the bleachers. I hear him, like, yell, like, all the time. I hear, Carmen Basilio yell and Aaron Whitecon yells all the time, and you hear Greg Lewis, and you hear the everybody. It's just
I
like,
love
this
White
is
Cotton.
oh,
Love White.
Whitecon's a beast,
I
man. I
love
mean,
White
this
Cotton.
is
White Cotton guy out there. He tell him get off the line. Get off the line. He's like
yeah,
fair fight.
exactly. Right,
Like,
right, right.
dude.
So,
He's
again,
like
I think
do
this
it again.
is
Go back and do it again. You do it right.
right, exactly. So, and, the players feed off of that. The players look at
Yeah.
that and they're like,
They want
"This
to be
is"
coached.
yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I talked about earlier, the 3-4 to 4-3. You know, it's not easy to change that scheme. And I think this is the reason why the Titans have had successful is they brought guys in who fit that scheme. They brought Jermaine and
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think Femi fits the scheme very much. I think John Franklin Myers, Jacob Martin is a guy to watch this year. There's a lot of guys who fit the
Sully.
scheme. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, and Jeff, Jeff's an attack player. Jeff is a very attack player. Jeff's more of attack than read and react. That's just who Jeff is. And
Exactly. And I wish it
and
was things like when and we have to cut you off, but just exactly what happened when they told him last year when what White Cotton told him was it this year off season. We don't do that here. We don't wait and read.
mhm,
We go out the ball. He had to kind
mhm.
of like he got taken back from that because it's like he's so used to getting double teamed and them telling him to react. that now he has a coach after telling him go get it.
Yeah, and the thing that's and that's what the thing that Jeff was impressed with. He's like, I'm very surprised. I'm very shocked. Like that's what Jeff was very surprised of. And I think again, he's also had a good offseason too.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So I got a one question for you. This is a fun question, man.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
and this question right here is, what hot take? Um, how can I say this? A fun question. Let's see. How can I say this? What what take will get you roasted by Titans fans?
Take gets me roasted by Titans fans. Oh
Like, what
man.
take that you're gonna defend to the better they'll get you roasted by Titans fans. Like,
Man. That's a tough one because I got roasted by my friends about Xavier Strepo, and now he's actually been improving. It's funny because like I was talking about Strepo in like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, wait until see what does in OT in minicamp. Look what I think he's doing now. I mean, that's probably the roast I've gotten roasted on is probably the Restrepo thing. But I've gotten a little roast on Tyjae Spears. I think he's a guy that's made some noise too. I'm very excited what Tyjae's done. I think he's a guy, and I have, I think that's the two. I got roasted on Cody Barton too because I'm look, and here's the thing to me. When I look at the depth chart, when I look at this 53 man, I studied this the whole way here. I looked at the roster in Phoenix and all the way, and I had 2 hours to look at this. I think Cody Barton is still the starter today at the end of the day. But don't sleep on Hill because I think Anthony Hill's going to catch up. He's going to be that Suman car going past, Lightning McQueen,
I
in the
agree.
Cars movie. So I think Hill's right behind Cody, but I think Cody's going to start today. And that's what I'm putting on here. That's my ball. That's what I'm just putting on here. But you know what? I got roasted a lot for those takes. I'm just like, okay, you know what? Let's see what happens. And so far, I've been right by two of them. So hey, you know what? Keep putting them on, keep putting the takes out there, and see where it goes.
That's crazy because with that Restrepo take, I just gotta sing
Hmm.
Michael Jackson. You were not alone.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I'm the same exact way because like when it comes down Restrepo, it's like I know he has it if
Yes.
they can just use it right. And I can see your take with, and it's kind of like the same kind of take that you had with Tajay Spears, because Tajay Spears, I felt like he had too many explosive plays, but I feel like they didn't get him in the right plays. The quick throws, because when he did the quick throws, he was very productive. Like he would break 'em, make a person miss and then go. And next thing you know, he broke off a 15-yard run, 15-yard pass. And it just they didn't use him right to me. So now I think Dable, he's trying to find his lane still, and I think Dable
Hmm.
him right. Dable is a scheme person to me. He's gonna build it around what he has.
Yeah, and the thing that's they will use a lot of those screenplays, like you mentioned, with the scheme and everything. I think that's very impressive. I think what's what Dable's really done a good job of is just figuring that out. So, that's what really impressive was when I came in here. Dable looking at the guys, be like, hey, I can work with you. Hey, I can work with Tony. I can work with Ty. Um, Another sleeper pick I've gotten a little fun of is I think Nick Singleton's RB2 at the end of the year. That's another one I
Ooh,
literally just thought of.
alert!
So, okay, so I'm gonna put this on here as a little closing one for you, B. I'm gonna put a little hot take and closing one. Tony and Tajay are both free agents. Those guys are both free agents. And I don't know what it's gonna look like with the running back room at the end of the year. By the way, they love the running back room. They are very impressed by the running back room. They're very impressed with both guys and all the guys in the running back room. There's talent when everybody was going after Jeremiah Love, and Titans loved him too. Everybody loved Jeremiah Love, of course,
Mhm.
right? The guy that was the most top prospect on the offense coming out of the draft, besides the Mendoza and the Cornell and everything. I think Jeremiah Love was one of the best prospects. And would it shock me if, and it didn't shock me they're looking at the running back room because, they only have one guy under contract besides these two guys if they didn't draft Singleton, and that's Caleb Mullins. So I think the thing is when you're looking at the three guys, I think they're gonna keep four. That's my early prediction, a little hot take
Okay.
with Tony, Tajay. Spear and Tony Tajay, Singleton, then Mullings. But the question is when you come to the deadline, when you're looking at those two guys, and it's gonna be tough. I'm excited to see where they're gonna do this year. How they're gonna split. Because last year Callahan was horrible at splitting time with Tajay. We all saw that, and that was a really big struggle point. How much load is Tony gonna get? How much load is Tajay? I won't be surprised if they're at the deadline if they do something and if they do trade Tyjae Spears or something happen. I'm not gonna say they 100% will, but I think Singleton's very much in conversation in that second running back spot because I'm impressed what Nick Singleton's done over the last few months. I mean, since he came back from the foot injury. So that's a
Oh,
little hot take. To see if Nick Singleton, I think right now he's the third RB until proven. And I put this out there. I'm gonna put this on my show later today. It'll be out tomorrow. And I want to see what how much reps they all get together because Nick Singleton is the goal line guy. He's the
yeah.
guy who gets a lot of goal line touchdowns. So
Get through there.
yeah, if Dable's like, I want to use that guy on goal line, you can use Singleton on goal line touchdowns, and I think that's very much we can do. Now, I'm not going to put that out there and say it's going to happen, but it might be a little hot take if you're looking down in October and seeing like if they do decide to move on from Tajay, which I doubt they do that right now, but if they do that, they let Nick be the RB2, then they have a more understanding at running back because I'm not sure if they're going to re-sign Tony or not. That's still unproven today. So we'll that's kind of a thing to watch as well.
Oh, so you think Tony or Tajay might be casualties at the trade deadline?
One of them might be. It's still early. It's still very early to tell, and we're not going to get a clear understanding
Hot take,
today.
hot take, hot take. That's what.
Hey, but you know what? But you're not gonna get understanding today or tomorrow or anything. But again, it's gonna be wondering when you start the season on September 13th, how
Mm,
much workload are those two guys gonna get together? Right? What is the workload gonna look like? And when you're looking down the line, if you've not seen Tyjae Spears get as much reps, and maybe you might see Nick Singleton in there just a little bit against hot take B. That's what hot takes are for, right? But it's going to be interesting down the line to see what they do with Nick Singleton on this team because he has a lot of potential to be at least RB2 for the future. Potentially, heck, could be RB1 next year. Now, obviously, I expect him to sign one of the two maybe next year, but it's still very much open. It's wide open. We don't know where they're going to go at running back. Heck, we don't even know. So I think that's kind of my take, just to kind of see that. It's just to see if Nick Singleton's been very impressive. Now, he's still the RB3. He's not gonna. I think that's where he's gonna be on the depth chart. But the question comes on later on: do they move on from Tajay early if they know that Margonzi can't bring him back? Do they maybe get? It's everything's still on the table. I'm waiting until August 25th. Excuse me, and we'll talk more about it then.
gotcha. Another guy that I'm interested in too from this team that you say that is Jared Canick
Mm-hmm.
because I see consistently he's making plays. This kid is getting open, catching the ball, making plays. He's a consistent player. He keeps his consistency is showing up to me. That's just what I see from what I'm hearing. And I'm very interested to see what they're gonna do with him. That's one of those ones I'm watching too. All right, man. Well, we getting down here, man. We've been on it for about an hour now, man. We've been doing pretty good here,
That's
man.
crazy. I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah,
Love it. It's
love
great.
talking ball, man. Love talking ball. And I'm gonna end this podcast, man, with one last question. What is your message to Titans fans heading into this season?
Man, I'm excited. Be excited. Get ready to watch good football. Get ready to watch complete football. I think that's very something that we've not seen yet. Is like fourth quarter football. I'm very excited to see 4 quarters of actual physical football. I just felt like we've not really seen that in a while. Because third quarter they've always dropped off. It's the Titans have always felt like a first half team last year, and it's kind of like can
Yeah.
they keep the momentum in the second half? I think we're going to play 4 quarter football, very physical, very fast. I think that's something that fans will be excited about this year. And head out to Nissan. If you get a chance to go, head out there. This is the last time you'll be out there in the old stadium. I'll
Yeah.
be out there every home game this year, but be ready to right, watch some exciting football. And the message I kind of want to leave with is that will it be nice to get 10 wins? Yes, right? But I will be happy just to be somewhere close to 6 to 9 wins is kind of my marginal range, just because to see improvement. What we want to see this year be is just not is we just want to see improvement from this team from last year. We want to see some growth heading into 2027 at the new stadium. I want to see how the young guys do. There's a lot of talent, like we mentioned earlier. So look out for that. There's so much talent. I think now, looking into 2026, now heading to 2027, we're not going to be Super Bowl favorites. Obviously, it's not going to happen. But
But
see improvement, see a growth, see how this young guys do, the coaching staff does, and then we'll talk more about next year how this team could be a playoff team. Could they be this year and shock all of us? Sure, right? They can very much shock us this year, you and I and everybody else. But
mhm.
if I get 7 wins and we're talking about this in January, I'll be very happy about the Titans season.
Oh yeah, just come into it with more realistic views. Think about
Mm-hmm.
realistic
Yeah,
point of view. And man, I get that, man. That's why I'm feeling that. And I will see, man. I'll be there. I'll be there the first game of the season, man. I'm flying in. I'll,
sir.
I'll be there.
Love
See
that.
the Titans take the Jets, man. So we got to get together, man. I'm gonna
Of
see you,
course.
there, brother.
I'll
Well,
see you
man,
then, my friend.
man, I appreciate you, man, for coming in to the Two Tone Rundown podcast. We appreciate you, man, coming through. Our very first guest, man. Man, I
That's an
appreciate.
honor.
Like, yeah, man, that's this is great, man. I just appreciate your grind, man. I'm watching your reports, looking at you, the interviews, looking at you making quick videos here and there, man. I check all your content out, man. So if you don't think nobody watching, I'm always watching.
I appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate that a lot, man. I love that.
And we got to do this again, man. Get
Of course.
some more people on here, do this again, and I'm gonna check back with you, and we also gonna meet up with you when we go down there to the stadium, man. Definitely, we're gonna go check out some things, man. I'll be there for the whole weekend, so we'll check out them and we'll link up there, man, and everything, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me this morning, and love talking ball, and very excited football around. And we got a good game tomorrow, man. Tune in. Tomorrow will be a
Yeah,
fun
I'm
game.
ready, man. I'll be ready, man.
I'm
I'm getting my
ready.
popcorn ready because I'm watching
There
everything.
you go. Yes, sir. There you go.
That secondary, I'm watching the offensive
Mm-hmm.
line. I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching defensive line, how who they switch out.
You
Uh,
spoiled my video today, Dan.
I'm watching if we play a lot of press, if we don't,
Right.
because especially on third downs, because last year we
Mm-hmm.
kind of gave them 5 yards.
Right.
So I'm excited, man. I just want to see what's going on with this team, what's going on around it. I'm gonna have my Cam jersey on, just getting ready to rock and roll, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you coming on through, man. This is the end of this podcast. Shout out your channel and stuff, man, so everybody can know where to find you.
Yeah, definitely. Titan Reports on YouTube, Titan underscore reports. Always on social media, X, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. That's where I am at, man. TikTok, we're on TikTok too. If you want to go find TikTok for content. So that's where we're all at.
He's the man of many platforms, y'all. Well, check him out, man. And God bless you guys, and man, tighten up. Later, we out.
It was awesome.